to BBB's 20-minute Power Chat with an Expert. This is a monthly series where we focus on topics that are timely and can further support your business. Our speakers will present for 20 minutes and then we'll have roughly 5 minutes to answer any questions. Feel free to post your questions as the presentation goes along. And the presentation slides will be emailed out to all of the attendees of this webinar as well. And you can re-watch this on our YouTube channel. That'll be posted after this presentation is done today. So today's experts are SEO experts. We have John Vuong and Roger Murphy from Local SEO Search Inc. And so we are going to take a listen to their great presentation talking about 5 ways that we can rank on SEO in 2021. So with no further ado, John and Roger, take it away.
Thank you, Monica. And thank you, Monica, for this initiative and inviting us in today. So really appreciate that. Yeah, and so as I mentioned, John will both speak, as we jump in here. But in terms of for 2021, for small business owners, the idea of how to increase your business, the bottom line is where and what can you do to help grow your business? And truly, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, why Google is so important. John, speak to your experience.
So I started this agency 8 years ago. Prior to that, been doing advertising, performance, online affiliate marketing, and then I worked at Yellow Pages for 5 years, and that's where I met Roger. So my background was in advertising sales, and that was 10 years, and 8 years in SEO running this agency.
And myself, I started way back in 1982. I started corporately at Bell Canada in the Yellow Page division. So over the years, after I did 32 years helping the local businesses here in Ontario with their local placement of ads to get new customers. Of course, the world's changing. I moved over with John into this agency because Google is really the new search tool that everyone uses. And we're going to show these numbers in a moment. But over the years, I've dealt with a lot of clients, well over 6,000, and every type of small business, medium-sized business. And so I have a lot of experience in this field, so to speak. So, and why do you need SEO? If there are over 3.7 billion searches a day, and everyone just think about that, just let that sink in for a moment. How many billions of times people are looking on Google for everything? Here in Canada, 55 million searches, more than the whole population a day, are searching there. So you as a business owner, you're listening to us today and you're engaging. We're going to take your questions a little bit later. If you have any questions, as Monica said, maybe post them along the way. But think of it, you've got 55 million people searching for everything every day, and Google is the place where they're going. Here we go, 97% on mobile devices. That is your handheld, your Android, your Apple phone. 97%. Google doesn't even share anything with anyone else. No Bing, no Yahoo. It's really Google. So again, I think everyone, if you catch where we're the idea that Google really is the place that you need to do your best job to make sure you're in front of these buyers. Desktop, 89%. So that's sitting at their computers at their home office, or their in COVID world today at home office. But when you're at your office, etc., this is desktop searches. Still tremendously high in terms of 89%. Google has that reach.
And I did want to mention, so search meaning someone that's actively seeking out a product, service, or a query that they want to learn more about, informational, navigational, transactional. So it's them seeking out information versus a different platform or medium or channel, such as social media or YouTube. They're different search engines. This is really searching for a product, service of a small, medium-sized business that you may be offering to sell.
Yeah, very much like discovery, isn't it, John?
Exactly.
Yeah. So here we are, John and I are going to talk about this now. And there are lots of things that you need to do to succeed at SEO, but there's foundational components, and this is really foundational today. 5 things you can do that you're going to take away after this 20-minute or your half hour this morning with us, things that you can make sure that's on your radar. This is what I can do to improve my ranking or how I appear in search results on Google. So number one, and John, we'll jump around, we'll jump in, we're going back and forth, but number one is really about creating rich content. Rich content means you've got to really do the research. This particular example has to do, just with cameras, for example, but you want to have content and write the content that satisfies what someone's looking for. So this example is for digital cameras. They might be, as John mentioned a minute ago, they just want to know about digital cameras, or they might want to know about what are the best digital cameras or the most affordable. So those are the things where you really want to make sure your content meets their criteria of what they're looking for.
And maybe I'll take a step back, and I just want to give all the listeners and people attending that Google, what their job is for you as a customer of theirs, users of theirs, to continually go back to Google because you believe and trust them to provide the best user experience, quality websites that satisfy your search intent. And so you as a business owner, you want to become that expert leader in the eyes of not just the customer, but in terms of Google, so that you now appear to be the best for that given search query of your customer who's seeking out that keyword. So hopefully that summarizes why you need to be putting out good content, positioning yourself as an expert, and understanding the journey that people go through when they're ready to buy. They're going to use different variations of keywords based on where they're at in terms of the journey. When someone's informational gathering, they might type in how-to videos, when should I, why should I, where should I, all these questions. But when you get closer to the decision, they're going to type in top best, top rated, reviews, buying intent kind of queries. So it's very important to understand who you want to target, how you want to present the information in front of these people so that you're positioned well throughout the entire journey of the search.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, John, I think you hit very well the nail on the head, so to speak. Google, the reason we trust is because they give great results, and Google's philosophy is only the very best, most relevant website gets to go to the high search results on page one. And if you're, our participants today, if you're wondering, gee, why is so-and-so always there on the first page of search results on Google when I'm there? It's because they have done these foundational things in the background to earn that credibility with Google, to earn this high ranking.
Exactly. And there's over 200 signals. So first thing is keyword research. You need to know what people are typing in to then be found. And this is probably the most basic thing that you should be doing when you're building out content or building a website. Know what your customers are asking and answer those questions that they have. When you start answering it with relevant content that have volume, search volume, that has buyer intent, you have more likelihood that you're going to hit them when they're ready to buy. And it allows you to become more visible, more prominent, and opportunities to then get search volume. The key is go after words that people are actually searching for versus, the longer tail it is, the less likelihood they're going to seek that information out. So go after, a variation of broad term, like 1-2 branded term keywords versus a longer tail keyword that's very refined.
Mm-hmm. And a long-term keyword, for example, would be or could be, let's say you're a dentist. I'm just going to use the dentist, for example. If you put in Etobicoke dentist, if you live in Etobicoke, or periodontal specialist, Young and Eglinton, those, the more words there, that's considered the longer tail. And those, you can just tell they are very specific. And if that's something important to you, you want to make sure that you can be found for those search terms.
And the longer term actually has a higher conversion rate, lower click-through rate, lower search volume, but it gives you a higher conversion. And that might be very beneficial for a small business owner.
Yeah.
EAT is very important as well. It came out back in 2018, 2019, but it's very important to understand that you need to position yourself as a thought leader, someone that with experience, with expertise, authority, and trust, right? And just like running a foundational business before Google existed, those ones that survived for many years and generations, they were leaders in their own mind because they spent a lot of years experiencing it and years in business with credentials. So you need to start putting that out there with credentials of how many years you've been in business, why you're in business, and if you have a lot of information like Storytel and accreditations or awards, all that makes a difference.
Yep, and they like Google, the thing, they like authoritative authored content. So that is, and we'll get a little deeper into content, but it is written by you, the business owner, with your credentials. That holds a lot of weight. So that EAT principle, which is expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, it really is all about putting your website and making you, as John says, the thought leader or the leader in your space, in your community for your type of business.
The second thing we're going to talk about is having a really functional website that's easy to use, easy to navigate, responsive in nature, which is it reflects all the ways people are now seeking out information on a device. Let it be an Android, Google, Apple, it could be a tablet, it could be a desktop, laptop. It should be easy for people to navigate, find things, and fast loading, secure, and easy to get a hold of with a lot of information that's rich and relevant to what the customers are seeking out. So it should be a clean, visually representing with really clear, content and headlines and,
call to action. Yeah.
The more simple it is, the better it is. Don't try to overcomplicate things.
Mm-hmm. Speed's important. John, we talk about this all the time with our clients. Google, it's one of the criteria, one of the 200 aspects of that they rank your website on is speed. How fast does it load on a mobile device and on a desktop? So that's something that you need to, it's quote, prioritize for. And there's certain things, there's many things that can be done, whether it's around the script or around images that need to be compressed. But that's something to always be thinking about is how fast it can load. You will be rewarded.
Go in there and add a Google Search Console. It's free, just like Google Analytics. It gives you a lot more insight and data on which pages are indexed and not indexed, if there's errors on your website or not. There's a lot of free stuff out there. As a small business owner, you might not already have been doing this, but go out there to claim it and make sure that it's error-free. So if it's red, it's probably bad. If it's green, then you passed. HTML. So this is title tags. So the first thing that appears when you're doing a search result is usually the map or ads at the top, then the map, and below the map is organic listings. What we're talking about is the organic listings below the map. And a lot of keywords that are being found usually has a keyword on the title tag, description, and URL. So it's important that not only do you appear on the first page, but now you're competing for all the users to then click on that website of yours because there's clutter. There's 10 websites out there. How do you get them to convert? So it's now hooking them or trying to get a good call to action that impacts their decision on trying to click on your website that's very relevant to the content that you're portraying on your actual website. So making sure that it's in alignment with where they're at in the funnel, what kind of content is actually portrayed in the website content piece, and making sure that you understand that journey, the user, your ideal customer, and understanding their mindset of what they are after. So answering the problem with good content that compels them to, click onto your website.
These are some tools. Again, John mentioned a moment ago, lots of good free tools out there. But these are SEO tools. One's called All-in-One, the other one is Yoast. But these will literally, they're free. They'll actually guide you to tell you what's best practices and what you need to do to make your content SEO friendly. So there's no reason not to put these on because it's free and it actually is a guide, a step-by-step of what you can do.
And this is probably, so on page, we talk about on page, and these are cool tools within your website, free, upload it. If you have a WordPress site, these are great. Remember, this is probably 15-20% of the entire SEO campaign, but it's a great opportunity for you to at least maximize the 15% if your competitors aren't doing it properly.
And then number 4, in terms of out of the 5 foundational things we're talking about today to help you today to walk away with better ideas of how to make your website rank, is getting links to your website. And as I was mentioning to Monica, BBB has a link that has value with Google. They see that. So that acts as a reference to your site. And then as it mentions here, link quality. Not all links are created equal. And what we mean by that is that and certainly for our clients, we always look for the high quality domain authority, page authority. And these basically are, it's like a rating of other websites. And if you can get your website and get them to embed your website link on their page, it comes back to you. Google sees a quality site giving a link to another site. It actually enhances your profile.
Exactly. So focus on quality. And what that means is making sure that it's a niche, industry specific, with authority, that has organic traffic, that's trusted in Google's eyes, and that has relevance based on the product or service that you're offering onto your website. And that's very challenging. And this is probably the most challenging aspect of the entire SEO campaign that we deal with our clients. But it's also the most impactful and rewarding if done right, properly. So focus on quality. We can talk more on anchor text and number links, but really focus on unique referring domains, anchor text that's branded by your actual brand name as opposed to keyword stuff. And if people want to ask me later on this, I can get a little bit more deeper on that.
And number 5, out of 5, and it's not less important, it's as important as the other 4, your GMB, called Google My Business page. Google refers this as it's your Google social media page. There's Facebooks out there, there's Twitters and Instagram accounts, but GMB, your Google My Business, is a very important page that you can use to your benefit, and you can load lots of things to it. The second part, of course, is reviews, and that's the easy one. So everybody, you need more reviews. You ask your clients, if you've done a good job, would you write me a review? And you need to respond to every review that comes in, both positive and negative. No one's perfect. We know that. Now, we happen to have a 4.9 out of 5. Everyone loves us at Local SEO Search, John. But there are, in life, there'll be issues sometimes. If you have a review that might be not so great, still respond to it. Be professional. Tell them that it's important to you to respond to everything. But more reviews are huge.
Yeah, and one last thing about Google My Business, it's free. Go out there, claim it, verify it. And within there, you can upload images, videos. You can go in there and update all your attributes, all the categories that you have, all the services you have, the ways you have been impacted with COVID. And if there's new instructions on how you service clients and pick up delivery and deliver things if you're a restaurant, there's a lot of new things that's always updated, and it allows you to own it. And that's the key thing about this whole SEO space. You own your website, you own all your asset pieces. That'd be social media channels and all the citations and directories and out there stuff that you're putting out there, because the more ownership you have, the better in control you have in terms of the entire campaign.
Yeah. And this Google My Business, there's even things called Google Stories. So it lasts for a week at a time, but you can post questions and provide the answers there. And that's hugely important as well. So there's lots of things you can do with it.
Yeah.
John, you like this one, so I'll let you do this one.
So SEO Advantages, the key with SEO is it's more of a long-term strategy. However, it's very important if you're a business that wants to be in business for the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years, because it allows you to build up your foundation of the business, to earn good inbound leads of high ticket value type of clients, which is your ideal type of client. So inbound leads seeking out your product and service, and they're typically ready to buy. They're further along the buying cycle because the people who are seeking you out, they're in control of the entire search decision, right? So in terms of the SEO advantages, it's all about earning equity, earning your asset piece versus renting space online. So in terms of like marketing and advertising digitally, I feel SEO is a great equity play versus rental play with ads.
And to your point, John, the idea of if page one is the ultimate place, and we do know that's where most people are making their purchasing and choices on page one, that real estate that we speak of on page one Google, you want to own that. And everything we talked about today it leads you down the path to owning that coveted space on page one. So if you own it, then you're there morning and night, 7 days a week, and you cannot help but profit by being in the right place at the right time. Here's some of our contact. You can reach us, and as Monica mentioned, this will be made available to you, this presentation, and you can always reach out if you have any other particular questions. But here we are. John and I are ready to answer anything you guys have, and we appreciate your time today too.
Great. Thanks so much for that presentation. We do have a couple questions, so I'm just going to go in here now and take a look at some of the ones that have come in. One was, other than BBB linking to our website, how do you get links to your site that are credible when you're a small business?
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about this, Roger. There's free ones out there. It's called citation directory building. So imagine we worked at Yellow Pages. You're familiar with Yelp. You're familiar with all these online portals and directories. Go out there and claim it. It's free. Go out there. There's a lot of, I would even take a look at, and this is my idea of trying to scrape what your competitors have done. Type in one of your major competitors that always appear on the first page. Type in their brand name on a Google search. It will typically pull up the first 10 pages of all the links that they're a part of, right? And typically they're free or not free, but it's easy to do on Google. It's going to be their company website and all their asset pieces. It could be Facebook, Instagram, Google My Business, etc. But then there's all these other ones like Yellow Pages, HomeStars. It could be, Open Care or whatever, like all these other directories. Go in there, claim it, because you have the ability to go out there and get it for free as well.
Another question, I just did a new skin and revised my website. How do you suggest getting someone to review SEO all over again? It hasn't been done in about 4 years.
Yeah, so with SEO, it's not a one-time fix. The on-page, even with the recommendations that's done, it's all about the authority building afterwards as well, because it's not like a website that's stagnant. Like you have to update your blogs and fresh information and update your social media pages. There's a lot of things that go on. So what I would suggest is if you're going to do it, find out if you want to just do it one time. Like the one-time thing it's great for that one time, but it's not really going to make an impact in the grand scheme of things. Like if you're planning on being in business for many years, you need to figure out what your competitors are constantly doing on a regular basis. If you're in a fairly competitive industry like restaurants, or if you're in a local business, London, Kitchener, and Toronto, there's a lot of competition in every industry. What are they doing and how do you compete? So you have to stay on top of what's going on. And that's what someone that's dedicated, contractor, freelancer, independent, in-house, or agency can really help you stay on top of what's going on.
Okay, another question is, to what degree is SEO something that a typical business owner can manage on their own? What are some of the signs and symptoms that a business should get expert help?
That's interesting. I mean, we're based here in Toronto, and of course in the GTA, we've got a third of the population of Canada here. So you're talking about the most probably competitive geographic market in all of Canada here. If you're a smaller town business owner, and you have less competition, it just sort of, and I speak to clients all the time, it is somewhat easier to optimize and manage your site in smaller markets in niche categories. And that being said, if you're like, I had an inquiry from a dental practice here just this morning. They have 2 locations here in the city. How many dentists are in Toronto? There's a lot of dentists in Toronto. There's thousands of dentists in Toronto. They are not equipped. There's no way they can do that on their own. And John, you might want to add something to that as well.
Yeah, so it depends on your bandwidth, your knowledge and insight on technical, and there's a lot of pillars. Like, we didn't really go down like what are the 200 factors, but we kind of know what they are from an agency standpoint because we work with hundreds of clients, right? But there are development, graphic designers, content pillar, link builder, SEO strategy, competitive analysis. There's a lot going on to do it right if you're in a hyper competitive market. But if you're on your own, maybe on page is all you need. Owning some of the online asset pieces is all you need. But when you become in a very competitive service product niche industry, then I would say try to outsource or find someone that's really skilled at it with a good proven track record.
Mm-hmm. And just for fun, just John and I both came from the Yellow Page directory business from years ago. Prior to Google, if you were a small business, it was somewhat easier. You contracted the phone company to place your business card or whatever, if you're a plumber, a pizza maker or whatever, in your directory, and then they distributed it to everyone's home or every business, so that you knew I've cast my message out there and I'm in my community when they're ready to find me. And to your point, your question today, SEO, it is live, it's fluid, it's changing all the time. It is not as easy as it used to be to manage your business and get your message out there. So doing it on your own, again, in the old days, you hired someone like Yellow Pages or a flyer company to send flyers out, and that's it. Today, it is lots of moving parts every month.
Okay, there's a few more questions, so I'm hoping we can get through all of these. So hosting your site, are there any advantages to hosting a site on Google versus another service?
So hosting yourself, this is when you build a website for all the listeners, there's 3 things that's important. Owning your domain name, URL, www, hosting your website, which is like rent online, and then the website piece, which is designing the website so that it's more the actual sign when you have a bricks and mortar. So hosting a website, I always say, depending on where you're at and in your business, right? Like, how competitive is your landscape? If it is hyper competitive, like a dentist, lawyer, trade, I would even say, look at the biggest providers, really robust, redundant, pay for a larger opportunity. Like we're using Amazon and Google Cloud, but we're national, international. Then if you're a local one, maybe it makes sense to just go GoDaddy, right? Because of price point and tier. So you have to figure out like what makes sense for you. In terms of pros and cons of it, I would always say, what are your competitors doing and how have they ranked? If you want to play on the same playing field, do exactly what they're doing and replicate where they're residing. And if you want to go above them, then you gotta pay a little bit more with the bigger players, but that gives you a competitive edge. Just like owning your website. I would say if you're in a competitive marketplace, don't do a Wix, Shopify, Squarespace kind of website. Own your website with a proper developer.
Okay, should we diversify our exposure on different search engines?
I'm all about 80-20 rule. If majority of the people are searching on Google, how many people are actually using Bing and Yahoo? It's the same thing with advertising. If you or your customers are seeking you out, and you probably know your 10 best clients, what medium are they using? Are they using Facebook or Instagram? It's a free medium, but no one's actually searching for your product and service in that medium. Would you advertise there? play where a lot of people are seeking out your product and service. I'm not saying Google is it for all products and companies and services. I would say if you're product based, maybe Instagram is great, Facebook is great. If you are a different niche, you have to figure out like who your clients are and then be in front of them where they're shopping, as opposed to being SEO for everything.
How do you measure cost benefit and budget allotment for SEO?
So that's a hard thing to ask because it's all dependent on what you're comfortable with, of course, what your revenue is like, where you're at in terms of your business life cycle, and where do you want to be. Roger, I mean, we get this question all day long, all day.
I'll put it this way. I'll give a couple examples. If you were a pizza restaurant, you're selling a lot of $20 pizzas. Then if you're, as opposed to, I should say, if you're a lawyer who your fee is over $1,000 per transaction when it comes to real estate, you can kind of see how many people do I need buying pizza through my advertising efforts on SEO. Do I have to do for it to be a profitable return on investment? So it's a personal a calculation you've got to make in your business. What is your profit margin? What is the volume of sales? And then you can kind of reverse engineer. Typically in our world, John, our typical client is not far off of the $1,500 per month range, and that's in major market Canada, and that's very, very, very good value, I might add. But you want to sort of reverse engineer to say, well, how many clients do I need a month to make this thing generate and be a positive return on my investment?
Yeah, we did this a lot at Yellow Pages, right? Like reverse engineer how much is the ad spend, what's the cost per acquisition, cost per sale, and what's the lifetime value of this customer? What's it really worth to you when a lead comes in, and the quality of lead? So really
good point, John. Like for example, dentistry, a dentist typically, when they get a new patient, they tend to stay for 7 years. What if you're in a business that is transactional, like a plumber? Once I fixed you, you're not calling me again for who knows how long. So, or a roofer, every 20 years you need a roof. So.
Okay, and then the last question that we have is there a resource list with reputable SEO and marketing companies that we can reach out to?
Yeah, so in terms of lists, you can Google, there's a lot of SEO agencies, there's a lot of freelancers out there. Ask your friends and family, there's a lot of lists. And again, we're not saying to like choose us or anything. It's Google it, figure it out, use your gut, ask questions, figure out who you want to work with, right? Because every person is different. Every business is different.
And there is, John, I might just give not a shout out, but clutch.co, which is a somewhat of a rating agency for many different industries. But you can actually, if you put in top SEO companies, they actually rate the businesses across the country. And it's at least it's a directory or a compendium of all these available, more than you'll ever be able to phone and check up on. So there's some good resources out there.
Right, and not to state the obvious, but you can also go to the bbb.org website and find a trustworthy business that you can do work with. So there's just a couple more questions. Someone is saying that they have a 22-year-old website. What are the main errors that you see in old websites? And are there any tool searches out there to sort of help identify and address some of those errors?
Yes, definitely. We have like 10 softwares that we're actively using on a daily basis for our team. So definitely, depending on what the issue is, right? So on page tools, we probably have a stack of like 10 softwares, but our main one is SEMrush. Yes, it's paid. It's probably $150 a month. We have Ahrefs. It's another $200 a month. We use different tools for different purposes. Keywordtool.io for keyword research, right? It's $100 a month. So all these tools start adding up when you're trying to do it yourself. Not only do you need to figure out how to implement it and do it, it's great to have a tool, but who's actually implementing? How do you do it properly? And so that's why I think hiring someone that knows what they're doing, with a proven track record, with years of experience, will fast track you a lot more and cause less stress for you, versus trying to do things yourself. Just like you as an expert in any business, why are people paying you for that expertise? Because they don't want to do it themselves, or they don't mind paying an expert to do it.
If I could add just one thing, John, and this is a client of ours that came to us a year ago. They had a WordPress site that was 5 years old, just 5. And it was not necessarily supported anymore with the latest WordPress plugins. So it's a technical thing, but just in the big picture, if you have a site that's 18 years old, we're actually recommending businesses with 5-year-old sites that they are outdated. They need to be refreshed. So you need to come into the next, the latest, best platforms that are available.
Okay, I recognize we've gone a little bit over time, but I'll just ask this one last question. I think that's where we can end for today. It's specific, but maybe it would be helpful to a few other people. Someone said, what's the best way to overcome the location issue? We're a contractor physically located only a couple miles outside of the main city that we serve. And even though we go to the customers and our location isn't so relevant, Google seems to penalize us. It's like they don't consider that we go to customers versus customers coming to us. Many searches include the city name in them, and that's where we get unfairly penalized.
Maybe I could address this, Roger. So this is a service-based type of query in business. So say you're a handyman, painter, plumber, contractor, and we're in Toronto. Someone seeking out a business in Toronto, and I live in Toronto, and I type in a contractor in Toronto. What me as a customer is looking for is someone that service me in the Toronto area, right? And usually they give preference to people that actually reside and run a business in Toronto. So they're matching the query and intent of the user with the best possible business that's located in that area. You being in the outskirts, it's very hard to challenge someone that currently has a business operating in Toronto. Because if you were trying to do that and say all the other contractors in all these outer areas trying to compete for Toronto business, it's unfair for people that actually live in Toronto and operate a business in Toronto to not even own their base in Toronto. So there's ways around it. And this is where SEO can also help you to, tap in on opportunities.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank our speakers today. This has been an excellent presentation. John and Roger, we thank you for your time. And you can find more information on their website at Local SEO Search Inc. We'll also share the presentation. This will be recorded so you can listen to it again. Sometimes it's a lot of information. So we thank everyone for attending. And just so you know, next month's topic is on fraud prevention and how you can protect yourself and your business. And there's a lot of activities for Fraud Prevention Month starting in March. So we invite you to attend again our next month's webinar. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time, and we will connect with everyone again soon.